Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we are going to look at AgilePoint NX connector for Snowflake. Snowflake provides SaaS-based data storage and online analytics services as part of its data warehouse as a service offering. Let's look at this connector in action. So I'm in my demo environment over here, and the first thing before using any connector you would do is to create an access token for that system. Now you could create a global access token for which you will go to Manage Center and create it, or you can create it at app level within the app builder. I'm going to go and create a global access token over here. So I'm going to go to Manage Center, App Builder, Global Access Token. Now I already created few Snowflake access tokens, so I'm going to edit one of them so you can see what it takes to create an access token. So I'm going to select this one. So the first thing you are going to do is you're going to give it a token name. Next, it would ask you for an account identifier. Now, if you log into your Snowflake environment, the account identifier can be found in your URL. It is the part before snowflakecomputing.com. You have to copy this part over in the account identifier field. Now, next, you are going to generate a client ID and client secret over here. Now, generating a client ID and client secret in Snowflake is a little bit more technically involved compared to some of the other systems. Some of the other systems provide some sort of a UI to generate it. In case of Snowflake, you have to run some queries as an account admin. So if you go to your Snowflake environment, you have to switch your role to account admin over here. And once you have done that, you have to run a query which is like this: create security integration, name of your app, and then pass in some parameters. This information you can find in Snowflake documentation. It is outside the scope of AgilePoint. But one thing you are going to take from AgilePoint is the redirect URI. So if you go to Manage Center, you see there is a redirect URI which is over here. You're going to copy that part in this query and run the query. So once this is done, you run a second query which gives you the client ID and client secret. Now, once you have obtained the values of client ID and client secret, you can paste it over here and get an OAuth 2 access token. It would ask you to log in as account admin. And once the OAuth 2 access token has been generated, what Snowflake returned back is an access token. And it also gives back, like any other OAuth 2 system, it also gives back a refresh token, which can be used to auto renew your access token on regular intervals. So like in my case, I've set the interval to 10 minutes. Access token is valid for 10 minutes, and every 10 minutes it gets recycled automatically for security purpose using that refresh token. Now, one thing which is special in case of Snowflake is that Snowflake refresh token also expires after 90 days. So you have to put a note in your calendar or something that within 90 days, you have to come back and generate a new access token so that a new refresh token would be issued as well. And this is actually mentioned in Snowflake's documentation. So if you go to the documentation over here, it says that the default value of refresh token validity is 90 days, though you can call Snowflake support and ask them to increase it. Okay, so with that information, I'm going to go ahead and click update. So my access token has been created. Now, next, what I can do is I'm going to go back to Snowflake. I've run a query over here to create a database schema as public. My database name is APDemo. I've created a table called employee, and it has following fields in it. And I've also created a stored procedure. What it does is it takes in a name and ID of an employee, and using the ID, it finds the employee and then changes the display name of that employee. So I've created one table and one stored procedure, which you can see over here. So if I go over here, I have one table. If I preview the data, right now there is one row for employee ID 1. It's David Warner. His salary is this, department is this, date of birth, date of joining, and whether he has opted for insurance or not through company. So that is my setup right now in Snowflake. I'm going to go to my app builder now, search for my application. I'm going to open the process model and I'm going to walk you through that. So what I have done is I've created a dummy form over here to get some input data from user for my testing purpose. So I have an auto-generated employee ID, an employee name, department, date of birth, date of joining, salary, and whether user is opting for insurance or not. Now, once this form is submitted, first I go in and insert the record. The reason I'm doing that is, if you look at the Snowflake stencil over here, in this there is 5 activities: insert record for inserting new records into Snowflake, query records for querying the records of Snowflake, delete records, this is for deleting any record, stored procedure for executing a particular stored procedure, and update records. So there are 5 activities which are available, and I'm going to show you configuration for each one of them. So once this form is submitted, first I'm going to go and insert a record. So I selected my access row token from dropdown, the one I created. It shows me here is the warehouse which is available, the database which are available. Remember, I created a database AP demo, the schema which I'm going to work with. And once I select that, it brings down the tables which are available. In my case, there is only one table. And next, I'm going to just specify my input mapping. So I map my form fields, which are shown on the left-hand side, to my Snowflake's table schema on the right-hand side over here. So I've done the mapping of all the required fields over here. So that's the insert record configuration. Next, I'm going to present the same form where I'm going to change some of the employee information. And once it is done, next I'm going to invoke the update record activity. Now, in case of update record, the top part remains the same. I'm going to select my token, warehouse, database, schema, and table name. I can specify my request mapping, that which fields I want to update. So any field which I have mapped and has the value, it would be updated. If I have not mapped the field, it will be set to null. Now, next I'm going to specify my where condition. So there's a where condition builder over here. So I can say which employee has to be updated, where employee ID equal to, and then remember I have the employee ID available in one of my schema variables over here in the form schema. So I just dragged and dropped that employee ID in the query. So you can create a complex one as well. All the columns for ease of use are available over here in this list, so you can just drag and drop. So once my where condition is built, I just have to give my where clause. I click finish. Next, I'm going to query those records which are available in Snowflake and show it on a form. Now, query can bring down multiple records. So it has a repeating schema. On my form, I have kept it as a subform. Pretty much the same configuration. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just map all my data which is available over here into a row in subform. So as I mentioned, it is a repeating row. So I map the top level rows over here, the top level fields over here, and then map the individual columns as well. Now I could have given a condition over here as well. I just want to bring down all the records. So hence I left the condition as blank. Next, I'm going to display those records on a form. And once everything is done, I'm going to invoke the stored procedure. In case of stored procedure, again, I'm going to select the top level values, select my stored procedure from the drop down, provide a mapping of which input parameters the stored procedure is expecting. Remember, I had the name and ID as the arguments of stored procedure. And stored procedure would return back a value. In case of Snowflake, it can return back one value only. And you can store the return values in a variable if your stored procedure happens to return any results. Finally, I have a timer over here so that we can follow the demo of 20-30 seconds. And then I'm going to delete that record, the record which I created in the first step. Again, similar experience. I just select all the values over here in the top level drop downs and then specify the condition which record should be deleted. In my case, where employee ID equal to the one which I submitted as part of this whole sequence. So that should cover all the available activities. I've already published this out and I'm going to go and consume it now. So I'm back in my work center. I'm going to invoke a form over here. generated the employee ID 4. I'm going to create a new employee called Steve Smith. Some date of birth, date of joining is today, some salary, and I'll say insurance equal to yes, and click submit. Now, once this is submitted, if I go to my tasks, there's a task which is already waiting for me. I'm going to open the process viewer so that we can track what's happening. Got submitted, a record is inserted, and now it is waiting on the other task. Now, if I go back to Snowflake and refresh my table, you can see that there is a new employee ID record which has been entered over here. So my insert activity worked. Now I'm going to work off the process viewer instead of work center. So I'm going to drill down. I'm going to invoke the form right from here so that we can see what's happening. I'm going to change a couple of things. I'm going to change the name to Steve Smith 1, maybe the salary to $260,000, and click submit. Now, as you can see, the update record activity got executed. So if I go and do preview records again, the name got changed to Steve Smith 1 over here, and salary is updated as well. So the update record activity worked fine. Next, it did a query record. So, and it is going to show me the results on a subsequent form. So I'm going to drill down again and open this form. So as you can see, my system had 2 records and both the records were returned back with their current values. So the query record worked over here. Now for stored procedure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say take employee ID 4, which was Steve Smith in my case, and rename him back to say Steve Smith. And click submit. Now if I go back to Snowflake, preview data, you can see it got renamed back to Steve Smith in this case. So my stored procedure worked. Now what I did was I put a timer in here so that we can see the record before it is deleted. The updated record, we just now saw it, and now the record is deleted. Now if I go back, refresh the schema again, and you see that the record which got inserted for Steve Smith has been deleted over here. So with this, we have created a new integration with Snowflake, and this connector would be available for use from AgilePoint NX version 8.0 software update 2. Thanks a lot for your time.